Welcome, Premeds. My name is Obed Figueroa, and this is brought to you by Diversity Premedical, LLC. We are titling this Lessons Learned. So we are so honored today to have Mrs. Paula Watkins here. Hey, Paula, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So she is currently the Assistant Dean of Admissions at Rowan University School of Osteopathic Medicine. She has 20 plus years of experience in medical school admissions and is passionate about guiding students through the medical school admissions process. Mrs. Watkins graduated from Alderson Broaddus University with a BS degree in sociology and a BS degree in technical writing. She completed her master's in administrative science from Fairleigh Dickinson University. She is currently enrolled in a doctorate in education with a focus on education leadership at Rowan University. Bravo, bravo. Mrs. Watkins has created and implemented numerous pathway programs designed to increase the number of students from underserved communities. Her passion and strategies has resulted in increasing the number of prospective students from diverse backgrounds to consider careers in medicine. She's had the privilege of seeing thousands become physicians. Her leadership skills have been demonstrated in numerous councils, to which we will be just discussing that later, because I'd love for the students to understand the bigger picture, that it's not just the school, one school, making policy decisions. I mean, there are multiple influences happening beyond one school as it applies to medicine. So I'd love for them to understand those roles of those councils if we have time. So welcome, welcome. Appreciate
Thank you.
And thanks to your family. Thanks to your family for giving us time with you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So what I'd like to start with is just a speed questions. It's just a way to get to know you a little more beyond work and the sciences. So if you could just give me your first thought as we run through these questions.
Okay.
PC or Mac?
PC.
Okay. Android or iPhone?
Oh, iPhone.
iPhone.
Yeah.
Favorite restaurant?
Malaga's. It's a Portuguese restaurant in Trenton, New Jersey.
Oh, interesting. The favorite food or dessert that you feel guilty after you eat it?
I'd have to say, I just had some peach cobbler. I made a peach cobbler 2 days ago to die for, and I ate it like it was my meal.
Awesome, awesome. Favorite color?
I would say purple, lavender.
Favorite book?
I finished reading it for class. Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria by Beverly Tatum.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's something. Thanks for sharing that one.
Yes, yes. Good
Favorite
book.
car? Favorite car when all kids are grown and it's just you and hubby?
Oh, man. Wow, there's quite a few of them out there. I don't know. Probably like this Lincoln Navigator SUV. I've ridden in one time. It does everything. You just get in it and it just envelops you and you just go. It's beautiful.
Gotcha, gotcha. Favorite movie?
Oh, favorite movie. Oh, so there's probably two. My favorite is Goodfellas. I can watch Goodfellas. Yeah, I'm a Robert De Niro fan. Oh my gosh. Everything he's in, I love. Especially if it's like a drama or a gangster picture.
Okay.
And the one that's a classic for me is Cooley High. That's it. Yeah, it's my classic. Yeah.
Wow, good choice. Good choice. What was your favorite subject in let's say high school?
It was English.
English. Favorite teacher?
Oh, favorite teacher. I would say Miss Townsend. Miss Townsend was an older older teacher who had a lot of old-fashioned ways, and she was very frustrated. She taught math, and I wasn't really great at math. She was very frustrated at modern math, and that's what I had. And she taught more general math, and she said, the only way you're going to get this modern math is to learn the general stuff. So she taught me all the general stuff. That's how I got through my math courses. So Miss Townsend was
Awesome.
she was tough, but I loved her. I think about her now, I think, wow, I'm really happy, fortunate to have had her as a teacher.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. All right. So we know you a little bit more the beyond work. So thanks for sharing. So normally with this show, we interview physicians, but I wanted to explain why I thought you bring such value to the conversation. Because you're in a leadership role in medical education. You're making policy decisions, you're screening applicants, you're supervising admissions teams, and you are truly making an impact in your space. And the audience will get to know that as the conversation continues. But I so see value in this conversation with you. I'm curious, as we go into this dive, with getting to know you, is what made you decide to go into this space, to work in this space?
Wow, what a really great question. I was actually having this conversation with a prospective student that I was meeting today through a WebEx meeting. I didn't actually decide on this particular pathway. I started out initially by writing programming for disadvantaged students. And in an effort to keep them in school, so the programming was all about, finding interest in the sciences and in math and in all the subjects that we found challenging that would get us to the next level, and to figure out ways to enjoy them. So I was fortunate enough to help high school students increase the number of students who graduated from high school in some of the Camden City schools, which is in Camden, New Jersey. And in doing so, and you mentioned I have a tech writing background, so I love doing that work, and I counseled a lot of students. I wrote these programs, and they ran very successfully. We had support groups for students. We advised students. We provided them with all kinds of activities to help them really value education. And so as a result, I got an opportunity to participate in writing a grant that would bring a lot more resources to those programs. And initially they tried for the grant and they didn't get it. And the director I worked for at the time said, I might need your help. Would you be willing to see if you can contribute to this grant? And so I did, and they won the award. And ironically, this is interesting how you never know who's in your spaces, but ironically, a colleague was friendly with the dean of the medical school that I currently work at that time, and mentioned that he was running some pre-college programs and could use support in that way, and I'd be great for it. So I said, well, I can give it a shot. So I did, and did a lot of and worked on that. Some of the programs were, they had been floundering a little bit, and really got into helping students navigate math, English, science, all the things I was doing. But this time the purpose was to help them become better prepared for a science discipline. And the more I became familiar with it and the more motivated the students became, folks took an interest in that, and so did he. And it asked me if I would be willing to oversee the admissions process at the medical school to help some of the undergraduate students become more familiar with the process. And I did. And as a result, the rest is history. I love it. I've always worked with students. I love motivating students. And, and so I think the other thing too is that I come from a background where I'm also a first generation college student. My parents did not go to college. My mother got her GED. My father, biological father, got his high school diploma, but I was raised by my stepfather who didn't finish high school. He actually didn't finish high school at all because he was an artist, and he did great artwork, and folks directed him into art. And so he never finished high school, but he saw something in me, and so as a result, he didn't make much money, but he did the best he could and encouraged me to go to college. So that's why I started. So I think it's just intrinsic that I love to see students overcome barriers that I know they can in order to achieve goals. And so now that I'm in medical education, as you know, there are health disparities, and health inequity is huge in our country. It's hard to believe that's the case. And so I find it very humbling and a privilege to work with students to encourage them to complete coursework and all the requirements needed to achieve their goal of becoming a physician. I'm at an osteopathic medical school, but whether it's osteopathic medicine or allopathic, it's, just the goal of becoming a physician is huge.
Yeah,
I think that's
if we could take a moment to speak to that, so that they can understand your role in the school that you're at now. So it's students are able to earn a doctorate in osteopathic medicine. Is there any other programs with that?
So at the school I am in now, I work in an osteopathic medical school. It also has a graduate school of biomedical sciences, and students can achieve a master's degree. So if they are maybe finished college and they need to improve their science acumen, or they would like, maybe they're career changers and they need to take science coursework, then they can participate in the graduate school biomedical sciences master's program, and they get consideration for a health professions program, whether it's medical school, podiatry school, osteopathic or allopathic medical school. But yes, we do have a graduate school and osteopathic medical school where I am.
Awesome. And so, again, thank you so much. The wisdom that you have and experience, could you share with the audience some of the challenges that you see when you're looking at applicants, just abroad, and then if you want to get specific, what are you seeing in these applications? Where are the challenges?
I think the most challenging thing is to get students to share their stories. I mean, there's so many amazing applicants to medical school. I mean, they're just incredible. And some students have amazing academic experiences or GPAs and MCAT scores. Some students have amazing medical experiences. Some students have had amazing life experiences. And all of that, is valuable when you're assessing a student's ability to become a physician. And so you need a little bit of all of that to be a great applicant to medical school. It's considered holistic review. I think the greatest challenge is that students are afraid to tell their story. They're afraid that someone will judge their story. They compare themselves to other students, and they don't believe that they can be considered a true applicant to medical school. So they're fearful, of the process. And in all honesty, I tell students, if you want to do this, get in the process. You got to get in, right? You got to get in, and you have to make sure that you understand what your journey has been. And it may not be the same as someone else's, but it's not supposed to be.
Right.
It's your journey, right?
So there's variations. I'm sorry to cut you. There's such variations of, like, you're not just looking for one type, right? There's these students coming with different backgrounds, different experiences. What are some of those variations that are quite attractive that the committees like to see or impressed when they see it? All those variations.
Sure. They like to see the passion, that students are committed to, supporting and serving other people. They like to see that dedication and determination to achieve a goal. Even if students maybe had a poor semester. Why'd you have a poor semester? What happened? Life happens to us. Sometimes we're just immature. Sometimes we get into college and we take on too many activities. It's okay, because that's, reality. But at some point you have to realize, I can't operate that way anymore. I need to manage my time so that I can get the better grades. So when you're preparing your application, you don't want to cover those things up, because those grades are going to appear on your application. And you could be asked those questions about, what happened certain semesters. But what we're looking for, and I think committees are looking for, is honesty in how you overcame some of those challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of person are you now that you know better than you did before? We're not perfect, and we're not looking for perfect people, but we're looking for people who are willing to provide good care. And that comes from having good interpersonal skills, being a good listener, being a good leader. And leading doesn't mean you have to have an executive board membership in an organization. Leadership comes from seeing a need and filling in the blank. Maybe your neighbor got burned out in a fire and you want to provide support to them. We're in a COVID environment, and people are impacted by COVID. So I've met students who are doing a lot of unique things because their neighbors are out of work, or they've been furloughed, or what have you, and they do things because they care. And I think that that's what an admissions committee is looking for, that's who you are, And so this person who may or may not have the best academic background initially, but we can see them maturing, and we see their commitment and dedication.
Yeah, like
That's
upward
probably
trend.
absolutely upward trend, that commitment. They're going to work hard. And, when you think about it, those skill sets, those qualitative factors are so important in the kind of person that will provide care to your loved ones, right? You want that person to be determined, to be dedicated, to ask questions, to be teachable, to want information, to continue working to help patients, to help people. So I call them transferable skills, the skills that applicants take for granted, but admissions committees value just as much as they value a student's academic background, GPA and MCAT scores.
So I have a two-part question, because I don't want to have assumptions that everyone at this point, 2020, understands osteopathic medicine, right? So I'd like you to speak to that. And then if you could also share, because I don't want to think that there's limitations if one goes this pathway, the specialties that osteopathic physicians can go into.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind.
So in the United States, there are two types of doctors: your MD, or the allopathic physician, and the DO, the doctor of osteopathic medicine. Both equally licensed to care for patients, and you can specialize in all the same specialty areas. There's no difference. The one major difference is the idea that osteopathic physicians have this extra tool. They call it an extra tool in their toolkit, for example, where they can utilize their hands to palpate the musculoskeletal system to either diagnose and treat problems, pain, abnormalities in the musculoskeletal system to alleviate pain. We always use the example that patients may come to the doctor because they have a really bad headache that they can't get rid of. And of course, you can take over-the-counter medication, but maybe that won't work. Well, osteopathic physicians have the ability to palpate your muscles and your nerves, and they can literally find out what the problem is by asking you some questions. I always tell students, maybe right before an exam, you get excited, you're stressed out a little bit, you can't wait for the exam to be over because now you can relax, hang out with your friends, and the next day after the exam, all of a sudden you feel muscle aches and you got a headache and you're stressed out. You're like, what's going on? It's because the stress and anxiety has impacted you physically. And osteopathic physicians look at the patient as an integrated whole. You're just not symptoms, but you're an individual that has a lifestyle and stressors that impact you. So, stress, anxiety, depression, all of those, emotional experiences can impact you physically. And osteopathic physicians have that ability to use their hands to eliminate pain and dysfunction, but they can also identify dysfunction that may not be the problem. It could be a symptom of another problem. So DOs recognize that, and they have that extra tool. Not every osteopathic physician chooses to use manual medicine, but it is taught. It's considered osteopathic manipulative medicine. It's about 200 hours additional of education that they'll learn in manual medicine. But if you want to go into anesthesiology, if you want to do a fellowship and you're going to go into oncology, there are DOs that are in gynecological oncology or hematology, cardiology, plastic surgery. There's no limitation to what you can do, but I think that osteopathic physicians do see the individual, the patient, the family, the community, the whole person versus just symptoms. And so allopathic medicine's been very science-driven, although allopathic physicians are also looking at patients as an integrated whole as well. So osteopathic medicine is on the rise. It was founded by A.T. Still, Andrew Taylor Still, in like the mid-1800s. He opened the first DO school. It's the A.T. Still School in Kirksville, Missouri. I think there's another one in Arizona. I'm not sure if it's Arizona, but there's more than one A.T. Still School. And now there are about, oh my goodness, close to 50 campuses. Wow. And they're opening more DO schools. I believe there are about 3 DO schools that are opening this year, and they're with plans to recruit medical students for fall of 2021. Wow. And so it is on the rise. It's actually, osteopathic medicine is one of the fastest medical professions around at this point.
Wow, thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
So, I mean, again, you're a dean at a medical school, and so I'm wondering your observation, if one is to prepare mentally to go into this experience as a student, what have you been observing and what advice would you give? Like, let's start with, what are the challenges you're observing in the students that enter in first year in particular? And like, what advice would you have for those that are thinking about starting first year in med school?
Yeah. I think that one of the things that I notice mostly is that students get into medical school and they feel like they have something to prove. And so they are, they put a lot of weight on themselves, pressure on themselves to do well. And so we tell students, if an admissions committee admitted you, it's because they believe you can do the work. And so a lot of times students get into medical school, and I think that whether or not they can do it, they're fearful that they have the ability to do it. And the medical schools, admit students they believe can do it. I think that if you're going into medical school, one of the things you're looking for are schools that provide you the support you need to achieve your goals, that provide you support to understand the material, provide you wellness, emotional support, provide you with mentoring. They provide you with, the resources that are necessary to help you through a medical school curriculum, which is going to be challenging. And I think that students need to relax a bit and utilize those resources and find ways to manage. I think the other thing I would tell students is not to give up the things that they do to be whole, So if they were interested in music, or if working out was something that they love to do, or if they love to read, or they love to be outside and they love to hike, do those things, because those are enriching activities that help to continue to stimulate you as you're going through medical school. And so medical school is going to be a lot. It will take a lot of your time, but it also doesn't mean that you have to take away those things that allow you to stay motivated in a very demanding profession. So we tell students to figure ways to manage their time and figure ways to continue to enjoy the things that they love to do so that they can enjoy medicine and enjoy the opportunities that it brings, because it is a lot. Medical schools are competitive. And so it's not unusual for students to compare themselves with other students and to feel as though they have to be perfect. And sure, you need to be great in medical school. You want to be a great physician, but no one's really perfect. And you want to utilize the resources and just enjoy the process, while in medical school. I think those are the things that I would encourage students to consider. And I would say that, when you're looking for a medical school, look for, again, fit is everything. It's not always the name of the institution, but are you going to thrive there? Is this a place where you can, you see yourself getting the support that you need to become a successful physician? I think that speaks volumes. And talk to other, students and physicians and get that support. Mentoring is huge. Another thing I would say too is use resources. A lot of times students feel uncomfortable
Mhm.
accessing resources because they believe that resources are for students who don't do well.
Mhm.
But I would say just the opposite. They're for students who want to make sure that they're on the right track, that they're doing well, that they're
Mhm.
actually, you know, achieving goals or at the pace they should be, or that if in fact they want to learn or find additional resources, that they utilize resources to find that. A lot of
No,
times schools, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So I wanted to make sure I get this in here.
Mhm.
Do you believe, should there be an assumption that students are mentally prepared for this experience, or should they begin to prepare, meaning the intensity, the challenge of authority? Like, do you see, like, for the most part, students are just, they ready for it, or they really should have given that more thought before?
In some cases, I think that students are should have given it more thought. Most of the time, I think they're ready. But I would tell students that if you're thinking about medical education, you have to get ready. You need
Hmm.
to be aware of what you're about to embark on. You need mentorship. Shadow physicians, talk to people, find out what the curriculum entails. What are they looking for in a student? Are your classes, like I said, are they remote? Are they hands-on? Are the faculty available to you? Are you ready for the challenges of medical education? It's not one of those, not like college where, sometimes you cram for an exam. You have to synthesize material. So you could be in a classroom, either, through a Zoom meeting or a WebEx meeting, maybe a couple hours a day, but for the
Hmm.
next 5 hours or so, you should be studying.
Hmm.
You need that time to really prepare and plan. And it is going to take a lot of your time. And so that's important, to consider. And how you study is also important. Maybe the way you study for college
Hmm.
is not going to be beneficial in medical school.
Right.
Even studying for graduate school may be somewhat different. So, what are some of the techniques that are needed to be successful in medical school? How will you rearrange your study habits? Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Do you have a schedule that you map out that allows you to manage and maintain a study schedule? That's important.
Yeah.
Are you willing to adjust it? And so all of those things are important. I think the other thing too is that in some cases students feel like they can manage the same lifestyle. So a few minutes ago I mentioned, don't forget to do the things that you love, but don't do them to excess, because in some cases you're not going to be able to go to the movies like some of your friends are. Maybe your friends are not going to medical school and maybe they're doing a master's of business or what have you. And all of those other disciplines are very important. The medical school is going to take a lot more out of you. So there are some things you can't attend. There's some activities you're going to have to forego in order to study and prepare for exams and simulations and anything that's required of you in medical school. So I think that you do need a certain level of maturity and a level of preparedness in understanding that it is a different mindset that you have to have when you're in medical school. They talk about fixed mindset versus growth mindset, right?
Hmm.
So
Right.
having a growth mindset in medical education is important, so that you can consider looking at other ways of learning and just enjoying the process, loving what you're learning and continuing to love that throughout the process.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. Just to end, are there any summer programs or enrichment programs that your school offers for someone that's considering this path?
Yeah, we do. Now, I'm a New Jersey school. We do have a summer prep program. It's been around for quite a while for students who are interested in potentially applying to the osteopathic medical school. That program is a 6-week summer program. Students can conduct clinical or basic science research. They're given a stipend, and
Mhm.
there are lunch and learns, so workshops that are available to
Nice.
students. And of course, by being part of our pipeline programs, we call them pathway now programs, that in fact we're interested in you. I would tell students this, that if you want to be in medical school, medical schools are interested in your application. There's a need for physicians, and so a lot of programs are designed to help increase that pathway. So we just recently received an HCOP grant award about 2 years ago. It's a 5-year HRSA grant that provides support to disadvantaged students. And I met the ladies today. They do amazing work. And there are numerous summer programs associated with undergraduate students, graduate students, non-traditional students they share with us, high school students. So there are programs out there that will support a student's desire to become a physician.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we mentioned in the beginning the numerous committees that you've been a part of. So I really do thank you for your service. What I wanted our pre-meds to understand is that there are a lot of players, there are a lot of soldiers on the ground that are really working hard to make sure you have access, that things are fair, that education is rigorous and prepares you well. I didn't want them to think that it's just the school. You know, there are a lot of influences out there. So I thank you for your contribution to all those committees. Did you want to share anything about these committees?
Yeah, well, I'm on, a few, and I'm privileged to be on them. And I couldn't have said it any better. There are many, and they're all, convened with the desire to make sure that education is fair, that, students get the best education, that they're trained well and prepared to take care of a patient population. There are diversity committees. There are committees that recognize there's a need for physicians from diverse backgrounds. And so groups are working diligently to encourage students from diverse backgrounds to consider careers in medicine so that they can, meet the needs of a diverse patient population. There are organizations designed to help recruit those students. There are organizations designed to, provide the education, to develop curriculum that's going to meet the needs of students who are going to be physicians who will care for a diverse patient population. Research is going on, as you know, on a regular basis. And so, that research is being done to determine exactly how best to train a physician workforce. So there are many. I'm on a few. I've been privileged, ACOM, because we're an osteopathic medical school, stands for the American Association of Colleges of Osteopathic Medicine. They have a number of committees. I'm on their diversity committee, and I'm actually the vice chair of the Council of Osteopathic Medical School Admissions Officers. And there are so many, I'm privileged to be a part of it. I'm excited about all the things that these committees do, that ACOM does, the AAMC does. It's an exciting time for medicine. It's an exciting time for applicants. I'm really excited about what you do, Obed, to expose students to the health professions in medicine. I would tell any student that if you want to do this, there are so many resources out there, including what you're doing, this one, and people who really want to support you along the way. And I would tell students, don't go this alone, but use your resources for sure.
Yeah, definitely. There's SNMA as well, Student National Medical Association, to support students of color, regional, national.
That's right. There's a Latino Medical Student Association, the LMSA, is also very big. Every organization you can imagine is represented. And I tell students, we need you in medicine, and these organizations are out there to provide support to students. The NMA is a National Medical Association of Physicians who have mentoring opportunities. They love to mentor students. So physicians are also, organized to provide that support to students and to mentor them. We're developing a mentoring program at our school. It's just so rich with resources out there, right?
Yeah, you just got to be in the know. You got to be in the know.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much. So this wraps it up, and we look forward to continuing sharing the wisdom of those in the field of medicine. So thank you so much, Ms. Watkins. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, it's just a pleasure. All right, guys. So this wraps up this episode, and we will see you soon.